All right, folks, at long last, the wait is over. The longest blue ballsing in gacha gaming history, it has ended. We know when Leonardo is arriving in the game. He is coming this Thursday, November the 6th, and it is pretty exciting times. So many people have been stockpiling for so long, and this morning, Polarium sent out an official notice to content creators that he will be arriving on Thursday, November 6th. So in this video, I will break it all down for you, and very importantly, I am going to tell you around how much he will cost in terms of energy and most importantly in terms of sacred shards. I have done a lot of research, I've done a lot of math, I've done some forecasting, and you can see here the most comparable event we've ever had was the Balor the Lost Path event. I think it was called the Path of the Lost, and I have used those numbers as a base to extrapolate what the Leonardo event could look like. So you can see I did a little forecasting here. I've also done a little points to energy to refills to gems conversions. I have a lot of images I can break down for you. There is a lot to discuss. So first things first, we know hard fact, Leonardo is arriving this November 6th, this Thursday. That is in just 2 days. By the time you see the video, it will be like a day and a half. This is exciting news. I wish he came sooner, but hey, at least he's coming at some point. So Polarium, they stuck to their word. They said, yes, he will come in the event we originally designed, but we're not going to tell you when, and hence the bluest balls in gacha history, as we've all been waiting at this point for over 2 months since the official leaks of this event. But I think the wait is going to pay off for so many people. If you're like me, you have been stockpiling and saving as much as possible. I wanted to quickly state something pretty cool here. I've been trying to get to level 87 for like a month and a half, because if you didn't know, in this game, if you're a pay-to-win player, when you hit any account level that ends in 7, they give you cheap sacred shards. Cheap. I mean, it's all still shockingly expensive, but you know what I mean. Vastly discounted sacred shards. So when I hit level 87, I got a pack that was 5 sacreds for $40. So $8 a sacred. That is really, really good value. The best you'll ever see by Raid Shadow Legends standards. So that brought me up to 43. So I'm in a pretty good spot. I hope you guys have been saving too, and I hope you're in a similar spot. Certainly, you will not need 43 sacreds to get Leonardo, but if you're hoping to get him and his perfect soul, both will be available in this path, then you may very well need a total that is that high, if not higher. If we look at the Balor the Lost event, this is by a mile the most comparable event in Raid Shadow Legends history. It is not a direct one-to-one because Balor of the Lost was a Spirit Affinity champion, a very good one, but a non-Void legendary, whereas Leonardo is going to be a Void legendary. However, in this Balor of the Lost path that we got about 3-4 months ago, you could get the champion, Balor of the Lost, you could get his 5-star Perfect Soul, and it was during an event, a collaboration, a themed thing, whatever you want to call it. And the third main resource was event-exclusive relic materials. You can see these here with the twisted horns. I mention all that now because in the official notice given to content creators by Polarium, those are the 3 main rewards they highlight. So let's break down this message right now. This Thursday, November 6th, we're planning to launch the Swordmasters Path event, where you'll have a chance to get a legendary champion, Leonardo, and other valuable goodies. You will be able to earn event points by getting artifacts and accessories, summoning champions from shards. So essentially, it is a Gear Hunters, Dungeon Divers event, and a Summon Rush at once. This again is the same as that Balor of the Lost Path. It's the same situation. The rewards that you can earn from this event include legendary champion Leonardo, his 5-star Perfect Soul, and Radiant Sun Lily of different rarities to craft relics in the Forge. This event will last 96 hours, aka 4 days. So very typical of a path, it will be 4 days long. That gives us a decent amount of time, which is important, especially if you're trying to earn a lot of points by spending energy, by doing gear hunting, by farming out accessories and artifacts. It's going to be brutal if you try to do it that way, but I've done the math. It is possible. It's just a lot. So let's get into the actual Balor of the Lost Path, and let's get a sense of what this looked like. Basically, you had to get down to this middle section, this kind of nexus here. This is where you could get, yes, his avatar if you want. I'm sure there'll be a Leonardo avatar as well. The most important rewards to earn here, you can see, were the champion. And then to the right, we have got the 5-star perfect soul of that champion. So you could get Balor, and you could get Balor's 5-star perfect soul. However, you can see these two paths were locked. Yes, you could get straight to the avatar if that's what you care about, but if you actually wanted to get the really crazy powerful things, the copy of the champion and his soul, you had to unlock them with keys. There are 2 key paths, one down the left, one down the right, and you can see one was slightly easier than the other. Up until this row over here, all the point totals are identical. The path shape is identical. However, here, the point totals and the reward flip. So on the right side, you could get the key first before spending 7,500 points for 50 legendary relic materials, where on the other side, you had to do the 7,500 points to get the 50 relic materials before you could reach the key. So that's really important when you see all this math. I'll show you that now in the Google Sheet I created. Before I do, though, I want to give a shout out to Boozer, amazing channel. I'm sure most of you guys know it. I found one of his old Balor videos, and that's where I got this image. And then I was able to create my other graphics and do all this counting, right, and math to figure out the point totals. So you can see if you were going for just Balor, you'd have to get that first key, the cheaper one, the one you get on the right, where you don't have to get the 50 legendary relic materials for 7,500 points before the key. On the right side, you can get the key first, so it's cheaper. In that situation, you get key 1. Key 1's going to cost you 20,250 points. And then to get the champ, you're going to go down the middle. I can already show you now. So there's your first key. To get the champ, you go down the middle, then you break left. In total, it's a hefty 72,000 points. So in total, if you were just trying to get the champion, you were just trying to get Balor, it was 92,250 points, aka 20.5 sacreds. Likewise, if you wanted just the soul, let's say you picked up a copy of Balor, this will be relevant to people right now if they already had a copy of Leonardo, but they still want his 5-star soul. It's going to look like this. You go for that same key that I'm calling key number 1, then you go down the middle and you break right. It's the exact same thing, except when you break right, the soul is 50,000 points, whereas the champion copy was 60,000, so 10,000 less. So for that reason, the total points you needed was 82,250 instead of 92,250, and thus it was a lower amount of sacred shards. And by the way, when I show these sacred shard quantities, this reflects the amount of sacreds you'd have to pull if you didn't do any farming. You didn't do any gear hunting, right? So this came out to 18.3 sacreds. Finally, and this is, I think, the situation a lot of people that really want to go crazy on the Leonardo path, I think this is the situation they will be in, you might want to go for both. That's a lot. For Balor and his soul, it was 180,000 points. So if we go here and see both, you had to get key 1 on the right, then key 2 on the left, which remember costs 7,500 more points. Then for the middle, you can save here 2,000 points for one of them, since you don't have to go down this middle twice. When you go left, it is 70,000 points, 10,000 for the legendary book, 60,000 for the champion. And when you go right, it's 10,000 for the book, 50,000 for the soul, so that's 60,000 total. That whole middle, once you get down there, is a whopping 130,000 points. So if we look at everything, it was 180,000 points, which comes out to exactly 40 sacreds worth of points. And this is when sacreds are valued at 4,500 points, which has been the standard for a while now in these path events. Now, I hope it is clear to you from this video and from using your head why these numbers are relevant to Leonardo, and it's simply the fact that this was the most similar event in Raid Shadow Legends history to the upcoming Leonardo event. An event where you could get a new champion, a 5-star soul for that champion, and then pick up relic crafting materials along the way. So, when it comes to Leonardo, how expensive will he be? Now, like I said, he is a void legendary, so almost certainly he's going to cost more than Balor of the Lost. How much more? Well, I've made these different case scenarios in kind of like a makeshift pivot table. So if we look here at the first part, if we're going for just the champ, this was the Balor cost. And then if we look here, this column is going to show what costs would reflect 20% more than Balor, what costs would reflect 35% more, and finally, this would shock me, but maybe they'd go up to 50% more. Now, what do I actually think it will be? I think it will fall between 20 and 30% more in terms of the costs, but we've never seen an event like this, and this is like the most anticipated path of all time. So, like, would you put it past Polarium to make the cost for Leo 50% more than the cost for Balor, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked, if that makes sense. So let's look. We've got the Balor costs and then the Balor costs in Sacreds. Again, this is if you're only using Sacreds, you're not using any energy to farm, you're not doing any dungeon diving gear hunting. So Balor was just for the champion, 92,500 points, 20.5 Sacreds. Obviously, you can't do half a Sacred, but this is just a way to get a sense of how close you are to what you might need. I'd be really surprised if Leonardo's the same cost as Balor. I'd really expect him to be more expensive. The question just is how much more expensive. So 20% I think would be really reasonable. He's a very good Void Legendary champion. He is an exclusive to this collab. He's disappearing after this. He's been very hyped. So 20% more. The cost there in terms of points would go up to 111,000. If you convert that to Sacreds, basically every time we convert it to Sacreds, we're dividing it by 4,500 points per Sacred. That would be 24.6 Sacreds, so call it 24, 25. Let's say they made him 35% more. I think that is also pretty possible. You know, I would not be shocked if the Leo Sacred cost was like 25, 26, 27, 28. That just feels like something they could do. So let's say it was 35% more points you needed compared to Balor. It would be 124,875. That comes out to 27.7 Sacreds. And then finally, this column E over here, what I think is the worst scenario. They make Leonardo 50% more expensive. They make his path 50% more costly than Balor's. That would mean the points you need for just the champion, that would lie at 138,750, which comes out to just under 31 Sacred Shards, so 30.8. So let's start with the good news. If you've been saving for a while, I would expect you have at least like 25 Sacreds saved up. I think you can definitely get them then, because I'll show you the points to energy to gems conversions I did. You're going to have some amount of energy saved or gems or just your free energy. You're going to get some amount of points this way over the 4 days without question doing this stuff. But that should whittle all these Sacred totals down a decent bit. But I'll be honest, unless you're kind of a madman like me or a huge spender, you might not have been saving these big energy totals. You can see I've been saving this for 71 days now. I've bought them every month since we've known about this coming. There's another one. So if you're in that position, I think using the energy is a pretty cool move, but I'm assuming a lot of people aren't on that level of a stockpile. Some people probably have a lot more, and some people who've been playing forever just have so many gems they can use, which is awesome. But I think some other people will not have that. But there you go. I think worst case, he's going to be 31 Sacreds worth of points. Now, if you just want his soul, I'm going to go through this a lot faster. Remember that Balor cost was 82,500 points. Let's just focus on the Sacreds, 18.3 Sacreds. So 20% more would be 22 Sacreds for just the soul. If it was a little bit worse and it was 35% more, that'd be just about 25 Sacreds. And then if it was a whopping 50% more, that'd be 27.5 Sacreds. So, I mean, you're going to do some farming. So if you just need the soul, imagine you probably need like 25 Sacreds and then some normal farming. Finally, what if you want to get both, which personally is what I'm hoping to do? Well, Balor's cost for getting both was 180,000 points, exactly 40 Sacreds. That would be an incredible best case scenario. I think that is very unlikely. If it's 20% more than Balor, this is what I hope it is. It would be 48 Sacreds, 216,000 points. If it's 35% more than Balor, we're talking already 54 Sacreds, which is crazy, and then 243,000 points. And then if it's that worst case scenario I've outlined, 50% more costly than Balor's path. That's how crazy Leo's path's going to be. I hope that's not the truth. It's going to be 60 Sacreds worth of points, 270,000 points. So mamma mia, that would be pretty insane. I think that would probably block a lot of people that were hoping to pick up both a new copy of Leo and the soul. I do think since the event took so long to come, if you've been diligent about your saving, a lot of people could even stomach the 50% more cost for Sacreds just to get the champ. Obviously not everybody, but some people. Hopefully it's going to be somewhere around here. Maybe we're lucky and they go pretty cheap with it. But I do think this 50% scenario would be prohibitive for a lot of players. Now, if you do have energy saved, what do these conversions look like? I just picked some point totals. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can use this. If you're like, oh, I need this many more points, how much energy is that going to be? How many gems will that cost me in terms of refills? So typically in a path, obviously there's some RNG to it, but typically roughly it comes out to 2 points for every 1 energy spent. And all the numbers we're talking about here are from like the mid game on. So you have an account over level 60, meaning an energy refill is 130 energy. You know, you've got that maxed out, your refill potential. And you're farming at least Dungeons Stage 20. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that's the majority of players. If you're new, you're going to struggle with this event immensely unless you have so much saved somehow, which I don't think is possible if you're new, or let's be honest, you're a very big spender. So for any player that's been playing for a couple months, this should be relevant to you. So earning 1,000 points, that will be 500 energy. Remember, 2 points per energy. That comes out to 3.85 refills. A refill in terms of gems is 40 gems. So we multiply that by 40, 154 gems. And also remember, you don't need to buy all your energy with gems. You probably have some amount saved. And even if you don't, you'll have your free daily energy and weekly energy and all the stuff you're getting by completing events and doing your daily stuff and so on and so on. So let's say you decide, looking at it, you need 5,000 more points. That's going to be 2,500 energy, which is just over 19 refills, coming out to 768 gems. This final bit here is basically just a cheat sheet. You know, it's like, just so you get a sense of, all right, if I want to cut this many sacreds, right, what am I looking at? How many gems is that going to be? So if you want 10,000 points, that's going to be 5,000 energy, 38.5 refills. That comes out to 1,540 gems. And finally, if you want to know what a big number is, if you're like, I'm going to try to get 20,000 points through farming, or maybe you want 40,000, then just double this stuff. We're talking 10,000 energy to get those 20,000 points. That's just under 77 refills. That's 76.9. And it's going to be just over 3,000 gems. 3,076 gems. So you can see, right? Like there are a lot of points to be had. Just to use myself as an example, someone who has those energy packs saved up, let's call each one of those 10K, without even touching gems, I have 30K energy to spend, which should be roughly 60,000 points. And in that worst case scenario where we need 270,000 points to get Leo and his soul, that would whittle this down to about 210,000 points, which is brutal, but at least is a little bit less brutal. Obviously, we don't know everything specifically and definitively until the path comes on Thursday, but I will tell you, since I've already done all this setup, right? I've already created this sheet. I'm calling this my path math sheet. So it's my Leonardo path math. This is like my predictive version. Once we get the official stuff, I will update all of this to reflect what the reality is once the event goes live on Thursday. So there you have it, guys. I know this was kind of a nerdy video. I know there's a lot of predictions and math and so on and so on, but if you do appreciate it, please do subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you're not yet playing Raid, use my link in the description and the top pinned comment. It is the best download link in Raid Shadow Legends, full stop. I've seen a couple people in my comments say, is it really? Yes, it is. Ask anyone, and if you find a better one, tell me, then I'll make mine better. But I've never heard of a better link, I swear. So make sure you're downloading on a fresh device, or you delete Polarium Play, and then re-download Polarium Play from my link, and you'll be good to go. 4 insane free champions to start, plus the new player promo code you get when you use my link, and you're going to get an amazing legendary too. Finally, I want to know, are you guys relieved that this event is finally here? Did you stop saving because it was taking too long? Where do you fall on this? Also, do you think my predictions are valid? Do you think it's going to be a lot better, a lot worse? Let me know in the comment section below. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.